reality glitch, everything instantly, trauma out in your exact favor. Have you ever experienced one of those impossible moments when everything suddenly changes? One day, every door seems locked, every answer is no, every delay feels permanent, and then, without warning, reality flips. A phone call changes your future, an unexpected opportunity appears, the person you thought had forgotten you reaches out. The breakthrough you've been waiting for arrives from a direction you never imagined. Most people call it luck, others call it coincidence. But what if neither explanation is true? What if reality has always been responding to something far more powerful than circumstances? What if the greatest glitch in reality isn't outside of you at all, but within you? Today, we're going to explore a truth that has transformed countless lives. The external world is far more flexible than you've been taught to believe. The limits you've accepted may not be real. The delays you feared may only be temporary reflections of yesterday's assumptions. The moment your inner world changes, the outer world begins receiving new instructions. What once seemed impossible can suddenly become inevitable. Events that should have taken months begin happening in days. People change. Opportunities multiply. Obstacles dissolve. Life starts moving with an almost unbelievable precision, as if an invisible force has rewritten the script in your exact favor. Imagine waking up every morning expecting good news instead of bad. Imagine walking through life knowing that every conversation, every delay, every challenge, and every unexpected turn is secretly leading you toward your highest outcome. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "How is this working in my favor?" That single shift changes everything. Your mind stops searching for problems and starts recognizing possibilities. Fear loses its grip. Doubt begins to disappear. Confidence becomes your natural state, and reality responds to that confidence with astonishing speed. This is what many people describe as a reality glitch. Not because the universe is broken, but because the old rules you believed in no longer apply. The moment you stop accepting limitation as truth, your world begins to reorganize itself. Coincidences become too frequent to ignore. Perfect timing replaces frustrating delays. The right people appear at the right moment. Doors open where there were once walls. What seemed impossible yesterday becomes ordinary today. It feels miraculous, but it is the natural result of aligning your thoughts, expectations, and identity with the outcome you truly desire. So, if you've been waiting for a sign, consider this your invitation to think differently. Suspend your doubts for a few moments. Open your mind to the possibility that your next breakthrough is much closer than it appears. By the end of this message, you'll understand why reality can shift faster than logic predicts, why your expectations matter more than your circumstances, and why everything you've been hoping for may already be moving toward you. Get ready, because what you're about to discover could become the very moment your reality begins turning completely and instantly in your exact favor. Everything begins within. Before any circumstance changes, before any opportunity appears, before any relationship improves or any breakthrough arrives, there is always an invisible shift taking place inside you. Most people spend their lives trying to manipulate the outside world, believing that if they can change enough people, fix enough problems, or wait long enough for better circumstances, happiness and success will finally arrive. But what if the opposite is true? What if the world you experience every day is not the cause of your thoughts, but the result of them? Imagine standing in front of a mirror. You would never expect your reflection to smile before you do. You smile first, and the reflection follows automatically. Life works in much the same way. The experiences, opportunities, and people you encounter often reflect the beliefs and expectations you consistently hold. When you carry the assumption that life is difficult, your mind naturally notices obstacles, delays, and disappointments. When you assume that everything is unfolding in your favor, you begin recognizing opportunities that were always there but hidden by your previous expectations. The greatest reality glitch happens when you stop allowing appearances to dictate your beliefs and instead allow your beliefs to shape your appearances. This is where true transformation begins. Your inner conversations matter more than you realize. Every time you silently repeat, "Things never work out for me," you reinforce an identity that expects struggle. Every time you affirm, "Everything is aligning perfectly for me," you plant a different expectation within your subconscious. Your subconscious mind accepts what you repeatedly impress upon it and quietly begins organizing your perceptions, decisions, and reactions around that assumption. Soon, the world seems to respond differently, not because the universe suddenly changed overnight, but because you did. You start making choices with greater confidence. You notice possibilities you once overlooked. You speak differently, carry yourself differently, and interact with others from a new level of certainty. Those subtle changes produce remarkable external results. Suddenly, someone offers help without being asked. An unexpected message arrives at exactly the right time. A missed opportunity is replaced by something even better. The timing feels almost supernatural. Yet it is the natural consequence of changing the story you have been telling yourself. This is why your assumptions deserve your attention every single day. They are not idle thoughts passing through your mind. They are the blueprint from which your experiences are built. Every assumption becomes a silent instruction sent to your subconscious, and your subconscious faithfully works to express it in tangible ways. Instead of asking whether something is possible, begin asking what assumptions you have accepted about it. If you believe abundance belongs to others but not to you, that belief quietly limits your actions and expectations. If you believe love is difficult to maintain, your relationships may unconsciously reflect that fear. But the beautiful truth is that assumptions can be changed. You are never trapped by yesterday's thinking unless you continue repeating it today. The moment you decide to adopt a new inner identity, the old patterns begin losing their power. It may not seem dramatic at first. Often the change is subtle, almost invisible, like the first light before sunrise. Yet beneath the surface, countless events begin rearranging themselves. New conversations happen, different ideas enter your mind, fresh opportunities emerge. People respond to you differently because your energy, confidence, and expectations have shifted. Then one day, what once seemed impossible becomes your normal reality, and you realize the greatest miracle was never outside you. It was the transformation within. That is the true reality glitch. It is the moment you stop living as a victim of circumstances and begin living as the conscious creator of your experience. When your inner assumption changes, your outer world has no choice but to reflect it. Hold firmly to the belief that life is working for you. Expect favorable outcomes even when evidence is incomplete, and continue returning to that conviction. In time, reality itself seems to bend in your favor, not because the laws of life have been broken, but because you have finally aligned your inner world with the future you were always capable of experiencing. Most people unknowingly give their circumstances complete authority over their thoughts, emotions, and expectations. They wake up, check for evidence, and then decide how they feel. If the message hasn't arrived, they assume it never will. If the opportunity hasn't appeared, they believe success is still far away. If today's results don't match yesterday's hopes, they conclude that nothing is changing. But this habit of constantly reacting to appearances keeps them locked in the very reality they wish to escape. The truth is that every visible circumstance is temporary. It is simply the result of previous thoughts, beliefs, and expectations that have already taken form. If you allow today's conditions to determine tomorrow's assumptions, you end up recreating the same experiences again and again. The true shift begins when you stop treating the outer world as the authority and instead make your inner vision the only standard that matters. This is where your power returns. Instead of asking, "What does reality say?" begin asking, "What reality am I choosing?" Every single moment offers you that choice. You can choose fear or confidence, doubt or certainty, limitation or possibility. Your decision may seem invisible, but it carries enormous creative influence because your mind always moves in the direction of your dominant expectation. Imagine yourself as someone standing before countless doors. Most people stare only at the door directly in front of them, believing it is the only option available. But what if there are countless versions of your future waiting for your attention? One version contains delay, another contains abundance. One reflects disappointment, another reflects fulfillment. The version that becomes your experience is often the one you consistently identify with. That is why selecting your desired reality is not wishful thinking. It is a disciplined decision to remain loyal to the future you truly want instead of the circumstances you temporarily seek. This requires persistence because appearances may try to convince you otherwise. There will be moments when nothing seems to be happening, when every logical argument suggests giving up, when the old story appears louder than the new one. Those moments are not signs of failure. They are opportunities to strengthen your chosen assumption. Every time you refuse to surrender your vision to temporary evidence, you reinforce a new identity within yourself. Slowly but surely, your reactions change. You become calmer during uncertainty, more confident during delays, and more grateful before the results even arrive. This inner stability creates a completely different experience of life. You stop chasing outcomes because you begin expecting them. You stop forcing doors open because you trust the right ones will appear. You stop fearing rejection because you know every event is redirecting you towards something greater. Suddenly, situations that once caused anxiety become stepping stones. Delays become preparation. Closed doors become protection. Unexpected changes become hidden opportunities. From the outside, it may appear as though life suddenly started favoring you. In reality, you simply stopped resisting the version of life you wanted and began living from it internally. This is why some people experience dramatic breakthroughs that seem impossible to explain. They did not wait for the world to convince them everything would work out. They decided first that everything already was working in their favor. That decision influenced every thought, every conversation, every action, and every expectation that followed. Before long, reality reflected their inner certainty. Remember, your greatest power is not in controlling every circumstance, but in choosing the meaning and expectation you attach to every circumstance. You are never required to react exactly as you did yesterday. At any moment, you can pause, breathe, and consciously select the reality you wish to experience. Choose the story where doors open effortlessly, where opportunities arrive unexpectedly, where relationships heal naturally, and where every event supports your highest good. Continue selecting that version with confidence, even when the evidence is still catching up. Eventually, the outer world begins reflecting your inner choice with remarkable precision. What once felt like an impossible dream becomes your everyday experience, and you realize that the greatest reality glitch was simply the moment you stopped reacting to life and started consciously selecting the reality you desired all along. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that nothing is happening simply because they cannot yet see evidence of change. We live in a world that teaches us to trust only what is visible, measurable, and immediate. If the opportunity has not appeared, we assume it does not exist. If the relationship has not improved, we believe nothing has changed. If the breakthrough has not arrived today, we begin to doubt it will ever come. Yet some of the most powerful transformations in life begin completely unseen. Think about a seed planted deep beneath the soil. For days or even weeks, there is no visible sign of life above the ground. To an impatient observer, it would seem as though nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, roots are spreading, strength is developing, and life is preparing for the moment it breaks through. In much the same way, every meaningful change often starts invisibly before it becomes undeniable. The moment you adopt a new assumption about yourself and your future, an inner movement begins. Your thinking becomes clearer, your confidence grows stronger, and your expectations quietly shift. Even if the outside world appears unchanged for a time, the foundation of your future is already being built. This unseen transformation is where persistence becomes your greatest strength. It is easy to believe when results are obvious. It takes real conviction to remain faithful to your vision while the evidence is still unfolding. Every day you continue expecting the best without needing immediate proof. You strengthen your inner certainty. That certainty influences the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the decisions you make, and the opportunities you recognize. Soon, what once seemed impossible begins appearing naturally in your experience. A conversation happens at exactly the right moment. An unexpected invitation arrives. A solution appears that you could never have predicted. To others, it looks like coincidence. To you, it feels like confirmation that the invisible work was real all along. This is why you should never judge your progress by today's appearances alone. Temporary silence does not mean permanent absence. Delays are not always denial. Sometimes life is arranging people, timing, and circumstances in ways your conscious mind cannot yet understand. Imagine watching a master artist creating a beautiful painting. If you looked only at the first few brushstrokes, you might think the picture made no sense. Yet the artist already sees the completed masterpiece before anyone else does. Likewise, your future is often taking shape long before you recognize its outline. Trusting this process allows you to remain peaceful even when circumstances seem uncertain. Instead of constantly asking, when will it happen? Begin asking, who am I becoming while it unfolds? That question shifts your attention from waiting to growing. As you continue developing confidence, gratitude, patience, and expectation, you become the person naturally aligned with the reality you desire. Your inner transformation prepares you to receive what is coming without fear or doubt. Eventually, there comes a moment when the invisible becomes visible. What seemed delayed suddenly accelerates. Doors that were once closed begin opening one after another. Relationships improve with surprising ease. Financial opportunities appear from unexpected places. Answers come faster than you imagined possible. It almost feels as though reality skipped several steps and delivered everything at once. Yet the truth is that the change did not begin on that exciting day. It began the moment you decided to believe differently. That was the real turning point. Everything afterward was simply the visible expression of an invisible decision you made within yourself. So never underestimate the quiet seasons of your journey. They are often the moments when the greatest preparation is taking place. Continue nurturing empowering assumptions, continue expecting favorable outcomes, and continue acting as though your future is already moving toward you. The unseen movement is just as real as the visible result. When you remain faithful to your chosen vision, despite temporary appearances, reality eventually reveals what has been forming all along. And when it does, it can seem like an overnight miracle, a reality glitch, where everything suddenly falls into place. In truth, it is the natural unfolding of an inner shift that began long before anyone else could see it. There comes a moment in every transformation when life seems to move with astonishing speed. What once felt delayed suddenly begins unfolding one event after another, almost as if reality has been waiting for your permission to change. People often believe success, love, abundance, and opportunity must arrive through long struggles and endless waiting. They assume that every meaningful dream requires years of hardship before it can become real. But while growth certainly requires patience, the visible results of that growth can appear much faster than expected. Think about water heating in a pot. For a long time, it seems nothing remarkable is happening. The temperature rises degree by degree, quietly and steadily. Then, at a certain point, everything changes. The water begins to boil, creating movement that appears sudden, even though the process had been building all along. Your life often follows this same pattern. Every empowering thought, every confident decision, every moment you refuse to surrender to fear is preparing you for a breakthrough that may seem to happen overnight. When the inner shift reaches a certain level of consistency, the outer world begins responding with incredible momentum. Opportunities appear where there once seemed to be none. The right conversations happen naturally. Unexpected invitations arrive. Ideas flow effortlessly. Solutions replace confusion, and what once looked impossible becomes surprisingly attainable. Many people call these moments lucky, but they are often the result of a long period of unseen inner alignment finally expressing itself in visible ways. This is why it is so important not to give up just before everything begins to change. Many people stop believing moments before the breakthrough they have been preparing for. They mistake temporary silence for failure and abandon the very assumptions that were about to produce remarkable results. Imagine quitting a journey only a few steps before reaching your destination. That is why persistence matters. Every day you continue expecting life to support you, you strengthen the momentum already building beneath the surface. The outer world may seem quiet, but behind the scenes countless details are aligning in ways you cannot yet observe. A future conversation is already moving closer. Someone is making a decision that will benefit you. An opportunity is developing beyond your current awareness. Timing is being coordinated with extraordinary precision. You may not see these movements, but that does not mean they are absent. The universe has a remarkable way of connecting people, places, ideas, and circumstances at exactly the right moment. When your expectations remain positive and your inner state remains steady, you naturally become more receptive to these opportunities. Instead of forcing outcomes, you begin flowing with them. You notice possibilities that fear once hid from you. You respond with confidence instead of hesitation. You make choices from certainty rather than doubt. Those small internal differences create dramatically different external experiences. Suddenly, one opportunity leads to another. One conversation opens the door to many more. One act of courage creates a chain reaction that changes the direction of your life. Looking back, it seems as though everything happened instantly. Yet every visible victory was rooted in the invisible work you had already done within yourself. This understanding changes how you approach every challenge. Instead of asking why something has not happened yet, you begin trusting that every delay is preparing the perfect moment for acceleration. You stop measuring progress only by what you can see and begin recognizing that momentum is often invisible until it reaches its breakthrough point. Most importantly, you develop the confidence to remain faithful to your vision regardless of temporary appearances. That confidence becomes magnetic. It influences your decisions, your relationships, your creativity, and your willingness to embrace new possibilities. Soon, the life you once imagined begins unfolding with remarkable speed, and you realize that reality did not suddenly become generous. It simply reflected the certainty you had cultivated within yourself. So continue believing even when progress seems slow. Continue choosing hope over fear, confidence over doubt, and expectation over disappointment. The moment everything appears to change instantly is rarely the true beginning. It is simply the visible arrival of a transformation that has been quietly unfolding all along. When you remain committed to your chosen vision, reality has an extraordinary way of rearranging itself faster than you ever thought possible, making it seem as though every event, every opportunity, and every outcome has aligned perfectly in your exact favor. The greatest shift you can make is to stop living as the person who is waiting and begin living as the person who has already received what they desire. Most people postpone joy, confidence, and gratitude until after they see physical results. They tell themselves, I'll be happy when I get the opportunity. I'll feel secure when my finances improve. I'll be confident when the relationship works out. But this way of thinking keeps the desired future permanently ahead of them because they continue identifying with the version of themselves that is still lacking. The true transformation begins when you reverse that pattern. Instead of waiting for reality to convince you, allow your inner state to lead the way. Ask yourself, how would I think if everything had already worked out? How would I speak? How would I walk? What decisions would I make if I already knew life was unfolding perfectly in my favor? The answers to those questions reveal the mindset you can begin practicing today. Living from the end does not mean pretending that challenges do not exist or ignoring practical responsibilities. It means refusing to let temporary circumstances define your identity. You choose to identify with the version of yourself who is already successful, peaceful, loved, confident, and fulfilled. That identity gradually transforms your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. You naturally begin making choices that match the future you expect rather than the fears you have carried. You become calmer in uncertain situations because your confidence comes from within instead of from changing circumstances. You become more generous because you already feel abundant. You become more patient because you trust that everything is unfolding at the perfect time. This inner consistency creates a powerful momentum that eventually becomes visible in every area of your life. People begin responding to your confidence differently. Opportunities seem drawn to your certainty. New ideas appear more frequently because your mind is no longer consumed by worry. Doors that once seemed permanently closed begin opening in unexpected ways. Looking back, it feels as though reality suddenly shifted overnight, but the real change happened long before anyone else could see it. It happened the day you decided to become the person you wanted to be before the world gave you permission. Every great transformation begins with that decision. There will be moments when the old story tries to return. Circumstances may briefly suggest that nothing has changed. Doubt may whisper that your vision is unrealistic. During those moments, remember that consistency is more powerful than temporary emotion. Every time you return to your chosen identity instead of your old fears, you strengthen the future you are creating. You no longer react to appearances as though they are permanent facts. Instead, you see them as passing moments while remaining faithful to the greater reality you have accepted within yourself. This quiet persistence becomes one of your greatest strengths. Day after day, you continue thinking from success instead of toward success. You continue feeling grateful before the evidence arrives. You continue expecting favorable outcomes even when the path is not fully visible. Eventually, the external world begins reflecting that unwavering certainty with remarkable precision. Conversations unfold exactly when they need to. Opportunities appear that exceed your expectations. Relationships improve naturally. Unexpected blessings arrive through people and situations you never could have planned. What once seemed impossible becomes your everyday experience. Others may describe your life as fortunate or extraordinary, but you understand that your outer reality simply caught up with the inner reality you consistently embraced. This is the true meaning of the so-called reality glitch. It is not that the rules of life have been broken. It is that you have discovered a higher way of living. You no longer allow fear, delay, or appearances to determine your future. You choose your destination internally first, and your external world gradually reflects that choice. So from this day forward, walk with confidence, speak with expectation, think with certainty, and live as the version of yourself whose deepest desire has already found its way into reality. Hold firmly to that identity with patience and consistency. In time, you will discover that life has an extraordinary ability to reorganize itself around the person you have chosen to become. When you truly live from the end, reality seems to bend in your favor. Every obstacle becomes a stepping stone, every delay becomes meaningful preparation, and everything ultimately unfolds in your exact favor, often faster and more beautifully than you ever imagined possible.